I'm talking about the man. Okay? I'm talking more about the man here than I am about the player. And you're right. Does that coincide with one another? I think it does a little bit. How can you lead a team when things are going bad? What happened when things were going great for Carson Wentz? By the way, I've got a Carson Wentz story that I want to read to you guys here in a couple seconds, and it relates to Howie Roseman. And you tell me if you think there's any credence to this. That's the world of sports. And again, the greatest thing about being an American is that I get to do this each and every single day, talking to you. Okay? Talking about our true passions. Things that we love. By the way, Brian Westbrook will be with us in hour number 2 at 4:30. One of the legendary Philadelphia Eagles will join us, and we will talk some football, we will talk some Eagles, and we will get his thoughts. That'll be in hour number 2 at 4:30 Eastern time. You know, I hear people, and I listen pretty much to every single show we have, the Birds, Sports Take, everyone. We're all always talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen's got to do this. Jalen's got to do that. He's got to put these kind of numbers up. There's really 3 people this year that have to have great years. Who do you think are the 3 people that have to have great years this year for the Eagles to do what I think they're going to do? And that's win the NFC. Not the NFC East. Win the NFC. Who are those 3 people? Give me 3 names that you think have to have big years. 3 names. Look at Showtime. Look at Showtime. Look at Showtime. Hurts, Gannon, Sirianni. This is why you guys are the best, because you're the brightest that I talk to and have talked to maybe in 27 years. There's very few places that I've spoken to when it comes to sports, when it comes to like knowledge of the sports world, knowledge of your favorite sport. There is no doubt, Will, it is Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and Jonathan Gannon. These 3 people have to be exceptional this year for this team to do what I think it's going to do. By the way, I was on with Seth Joyner last night. I had no problem saying this. I'm picking the Eagles to win the NFC. You know what Hollis Thomas and Seth said? Pump the brakes here. You better not be reading your press clippings. I don't think this football team is in that position where they're going to be reading their press clippings. Okay? I don't believe that. I don't believe they're going to be in that position because they're so young and so much to prove. Jalen Hurts, we know, has to play great. But how much pressure's on Sirianni and Gannon to be better play callers? You know, would we agree that Jonathan Gannon, of all the coaches in the offseason, has been given a treasure trove of gifts to improve that defense, to improve his play calling, of all the coaches, okay? Of all the coaches, do we not agree that Jonathan Gannon, Jordan Davis, first-round draft choice, Nakobe Dean, Kaiser White, Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, you theoretically have added 5 new faces to a approach that could change from night and day from a year ago. Okay? Night and day. Jeff says this. You took the words right out of my mouth. What's that, Dan? Thanks. Hey, all I'm saying to you, Jeff, is that I believe that this football team has a chance to do great things this year. We were all in the 10 to 12 wins Radius, somewhere in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, Hollis Thomas will join us on Friday. I think we're all in that room somewhere between 10 and 12 wins. I don't want to go crazy and say 13, but somewhere in there. Right? Somewhere in there. Right? Somewhere in there. These three guys have to play great. And what I mean by the coaches playing great, dude, they got to have a great season in play calling. Will Nick Sirianni improve as a play caller? Those first 7 games were not very good. They were not very good. And when they got in big games with good football teams, he was clearly outcoached. Jonathan Gannon, I don't know. I can't tell you how many people that we've brought on this program that are not impressed with him. And that guy was up for some head coaching gigs. If I'm not mistaken, I think he interviewed for the Houston Texans head coaching vacancy. Before Lovey got it, I think Gannon had an interview. Okay? So, to me, again, okay, yeah, Randall, I can't believe that Jonathan Gannon also, with that performance from a year ago, I'm with you here. I am. Because I wasn't impressed. We had Seth Joyner on with us yesterday for over an hour. Seth goes, man, I'm not impressed at all. I want to see it in September. And again, I always tell you this, guys. This is when rents due. By the way, please hit the like button. And again, if I missed out and people are now joining us here, don't forget Brian Westbrook will join us. That'll be in hour number 2 at 4:30. All right. So I saw some national buzz here for JAKIB Sports. Love it. The guys, I believe it was yesterday, had Andy Reid on. And they were talking, and I guess Andy made a comment about Jalen Hurts. And it got some run in the national media, which is spectacular. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? Xander, I know you remember this. Like a couple weeks ago, we had Kevin Colbert on. And he's a fan and almost echoed exactly what Andy said about Jalen Hurts. So you had the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a fan of Jalen Hurts. You had the head football coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, a fan of Jalen Hurts. I got to tell you something. This guy's got quite a reputation. Quite a reputation. Those are 2 storied franchises in the NFL, and they have a high regard for Jalen Hurts. That says a lot about Howie. That says a lot about Howie here. And the character of Jalen Hurts. I'm not talking about him being a great quarterback here. I'm not talking about what he has to do to keep. I'm talking about how people look at him and how people revere him. It is a night and day comparison to Carson Wentz when Wentz was here. This guy here has a reputation not just in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts has a reputation from Tuscaloosa to Norman to Kansas City to Pittsburgh and everywhere else in the NFL. That's quite a statement. I thought about that because I was reading and I saw Andy make those comments on Sports Take. You know, you have a guy that's willing to work and he wants to be great. Didn't that almost echo what Kevin Colbert said, who was on our show? The general manager of the Steelers. I guess that's being passed on now. And Kevin stepped down. They got a replacement. Amar Khan, I think, is now going to be, by the way, Andy Weidel is now the assistant general manager in Pittsburgh. They got 2 guys in the building now. Pretty good personnel guys, too. Taking over for Kevin Colbert. Howie, he may not be a franchise quarterback. He may not be. But I'll tell you what. He's a franchise person. I'm not talking to – I get it. Listen, he's a great guy. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is not a great guy, but he's a spectacular quarterback. And I would take Aaron Rodgers over the great guy every day. I understand that as well as anybody. Okay? Hey, William, it only counts here. Zach, appreciate you coming in here, man. Okay? All I'm saying to you is that this guy's built up quite a reputation for himself. Kudos to Jalen Hurts. Kudos to Jalen Hurts. I had to say that. Because we sit here and we're critical of him. We say what he's got to do. He's got to be one of the guys that has to be a superstar. He's got to be one of the guys that goes out and leads his foot. We all know that, okay? We talked ad nauseum about it. Christopher says we'll see this year. Yes, Christopher. I'm talking about the man, okay? I'm talking more about the man here than I am about the player. And you're right. Does that coincide with one another? I think it does a little bit. How can you lead a team when things are going bad? What happened when things were going great for Carson Wentz? By the way, I've got a Carson Wentz story that I want to read to you guys here in a couple seconds, and it relates to Howie Roseman. And you tell me if you think there's any credence to this. I'm going to read this story. This was by a Philadelphia plugged-in media member that sent this to me. And I'm going to read it. It was a relationship between Carson Wentz and Howie Roseman. And I'm going to ask you if there was any credence or any truth to these comments. But I wanted to start it with Jalen Hurts' reputation. You got the great, soon-to-be Hall of Famer Andy Reid with great kudos and great reverence for Jalen. And we had Kevin Colbert on, who won numerous Super Bowls in Pittsburgh as the general manager. And he's like, I love the kid. We thought a lot of him, and we talked to him, and they were thinking of bringing him in. They loved him. All right. No, I'm not fault. No, this has nothing to do with me, Chris. I'm talking about how the league looks at him. Okay? I think you're mistaken, Andy Reid, and what Kevin Colbert are saying about your boy. That's all I'm saying. I think it's pretty cool. I'd rather have those guys. I'll tell you this. Jalen Hurts will get a job if he doesn't stay in Philly, because too many people in the NFL respect him. And when you have that kind of respect, you're always going to work in the league. You're always going to have an opportunity to work in the National Football League when people look at you like that and think you're somebody special. Like you said, this has got to come down to whether or not this guy here produces. LP, thank you very much, man. That's the best part of Hurts. He knows what he has to do. You don't have to tell him. LP, it's not only that, but you know what else he is? He knows who he is. He knows, like you said, what he has to do to improve. Okay? Paul says, you and Hollis and Seth shit talking on the D last night. Loved it. No, I was talking about the approach. Yeah, LP, man, that's really cool of you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right, guys. I'm going to read you a story. And I want to ask you if this has any substance to it. A media person sent me this. Okay? And they asked me for my thoughts. And the Philadelphia Eagles are a little bit nervous about this story. It's a relationship between Howie and Carson Wentz. And this happened allegedly in the locker room. I would like to read this to you now. When did Carson Wentz get his concussion? Do you remember the game Wentz got his concussion in? Because I need some context on that. when he was with the Eagles, do you remember when he got what game it was? Howie, was it the Seahawks game? And was that the Clowney play? Was that the Clowney play where he got hurt and he didn't come back? Was that it was the Clowney play? Okay. After the concussion, Howie was yelling at Wentz and his wife in the locker room. She was crying. The training staff almost got into a fist fight with Howie. Howie's exact words: if you don't get your fucking ass back on that field, you'll never wear the jersey again. Carson met with Jeff Lurie and said, I can't work with Howie anymore. Ertz did the same thing. Jeff did nothing, and you saw the result last year. The relationship was never again to be repaired. When he drafted Hurts, he sent Carson a text, and he was laughing at him. Yep, Carson did not want to ever leave Philadelphia. He didn't ever care about the drama, but he and Howie, it was never going to happen ever again. Neither were an option. It was what we saw, and he, prior to him being on the MRI results, but as soon as the surgeon said surgery only was scheduled immediately, there was never a debate. He was just pissed with the media. Nobody knows the truth whatsoever about what happened in Philly. He was supposed to be traded after the Seattle game because Howie didn't want him in the building. Ertz said he wanted out as well. Howie grabbed Carson while he was puking in the locker room, and the trainer grabbed Howie off of him and got fired for doing so. After the concussion, did that trainer get fired? Did that trainer get fired? He was also told to scrub all things from his social media by Howie Roseman. I find that hard to believe. Okay? Now, wait, no. Wait a minute, Paul. I'm not saying that this is true yet. I'm saying, has anybody heard this? Because I'm not going to sit here and run with the story here. There's a media person in Philly who sent me that. And he goes, Silz, I want you to take a look at this. And I said this, I go, well, I need some people to back this thing up here before I'm going to sit here and go along with it. Now, I thought, well, let me ask the people if they heard anything about this. Did the medical guy get fired? Eastside, hey, I'm not picking a side here. I have no side yet. Okay? Did the trainer get fired? Chris says, I never heard any of that. Okay. No, never heard this story. Okay. First time hearing it, Randall. At the time, people were sick of Carson, not just Howie. I think if there was some truth to the players would come to Carson's defense. Agreed, Derek. But maybe Zach Ertz. Didn't you find a way? Let me ask you something, though. And again, I'm not picking it. Let's get in front of it. I'm not picking a side here. But let me ask you something. Do you think the way that Zach Ertz was dealt was weird? No, Bob. I'm not breaking anything here. I'm asking a question here. If anybody had heard this story, and for me, I'm trying to corroborate whether or not that trainer was fired. No. Chris, do what the hell ever you want to do, dude. I don't give a shit what you do with it. I'm asking a stupid question, guy. Okay? Okay? Did you find it weird how Zach Ertz, he played, and as he was walking off the field, Howie told him he was dealt to the Cardinals? Okay? Chris, right? Didn't he, was it the Monday night Cowboy game? Was it the Monday night Cowboy game where he played and then he was walking off and he was traded to the Cardinals? Really weird like. And again, I don't know if there's anything to it. I don't know. Okay? It was the Cowboy game? Okay? Yeah, I mean, the whole Zach Ertz deal and trading him. Let me ask you this. Were he and Carson Wentz thick as thieves? I was told by this one media person that those two dudes were thick as thieves with each other, and those two dudes were very tight. Is that true? And said that Zach never got the way that Howie treated Carson Wentz and was always defending him, but he was told by media people inside the building, don't go crazy or Howie will come down on you. And Zach was always a Carson guy. And that's why he ended up getting rid of Zach Ertz. Now, let me ask you guys something here, and let's kind of try to put the tea leaves. Do I believe the story? I don't know. Do I believe GMs are shady in how they do business? Yes. But if you're trying to develop a quarterback, you bring in A.J. Brown, you draft Devontae Smith. Why in the hell would you get rid of a top-flight tight end like Zach Ertz, who just got a contract extension from Steve Keim in Arizona? So basically what they did was they decided to move the Zach Ertz money that he was owed to AJ. That's all they did. They dumped Zach for AJ, which is okay. Is that an upgrade? Yeah. Yes. But then I start thinking about it. This is what got DeAndre Hopkins and his camp pissed off at the Texans. I mean, quite frankly, if you're DeAndre Hopkins, let's just say here, you're DeAndre Hopkins. You mean to tell me you'd rather have Kyler Murray throwing you the ball, or would you rather have Deshaun Watson throwing you the ball? Where do you think your stats are going to lie? You're going to be perennial 100-catch guy with Deshaun. I don't know about Kyler Murray getting you 100 catches. Okay? I don't know. Jury's still out on that kid on whether or not he's going to be a premium passer. He's a fine ball player. I think he's got a lot ahead of him. But I'll take Deshaun. If I'm a wide receiver, I want to play with Deshaun Watson more than I want to play with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray relies on moving the chains at least 40% of the time with his legs. Okay? So you're telling, okay, so wait a minute here. Jalen says Zach Ertz's contract was high. Well, then guess what they did then? Okay, Zach, think about this. All they did was just move Zach Ertz's contract on what they were going to pay him in the lap of A.J. Brown. It's not like they made a reach here. Again, is it an upgrade? Yes. Yes. But I started thinking about it. Man, if you're trying to develop an offense, here, let's do this. Is Zach Ertz better than Dallas Goedert? Okay, is Dallas Goedert, you think, better than Zach? Yeah, but look at Paul. Ertz wanted $17 million. So Howie just gave AJ $3 more million. Look, it's not a bad adjustment. AJ Brown, younger, wide receiver. Again, GMs do this. They'll move contracts around. Okay, I'll dump this so I can go get that guy. They do it all the time. It's not like they were paying a guy $18 million and they went and got another guy for $18 million. You got to balance your cap here. You guys think that Dallas Goedert is better than Zach Ertz? Huh. Showtime says, yeah, Silz, Ertz is the worst at it too, isn't he? Every time that guy catches a pass, he falls down right there. And you know what's funny? He goes out to Arizona, and this guy takes it to the house like on the first play. It's crazy. Chris is like, well, here's the Super Bowl, dude. He has potential. Ray, I hate that word. Is Dallas a better blocker? No blocking for Zach. That's a fact. I always looked at Zach Ertz, and you tell me, don't you look at Zach Ertz and think of Jason Witten? Jason Witten wasn't going to block defensive ends like Michael Strahan. You know, he's not taking guys like Reggie on or like that. You got to throw that guy on his bonnet. He was a guy like Jason Witten. You know, Witten was better after the catch. He clearly was. Okay, he's a better player after the catch. Okay. Ertz was a hybrid wideout. Kelsey is too a little bit. Kelsey will block a little bit, though. Derek says this, I will say that when Zach went to Arizona, he definitely played harder than his last games in Philly. So let me ask you this. To get back to this, circle back to this story. None of you believe the story, right? Thank you, GT. That was fun. And by the way, Hollis, GT, you may think that Hollis and I got into it. He's on the show Friday. So I can't wait. Just to circle back to this story. Do you guys think there's any truth to this story here that Howie got pissed off at Carson Wentz for not going back in that Seattle game? And he threatened him. Supposedly his wife was there. Zach Ertz was upset. It's just a little shady on how Zach was dealt. Let's ask this. Did Zach Ertz have a great relationship with Howie Roseman? Surely wasn't evident when the way that they traded him. I don't know, man. It did. Hey, you play and then the next, you're walking off the field and you're told that you're dealt. Usually you hold a guy out. Again, all I'm doing here, guys, is asking a question here. I'm not making an indictment, and I told you guys, I got the story from a media person who works in radio, and it's not a sports talk show, but works in radio in Philadelphia, and said that there was a lot of animosity between Howie Roseman and Carson Wentz, and it all started with that Seattle game. Did people have a problem with Wentz not going back into that Seattle game after he was hit by Clowney? You know, and Paul, watch this. You see Paul's comment? Put that up there. Put Paul's comment up. No one has a great relationship with Howie. That's the way it should be. You should never fall in love with your players. You should, okay? Hey, and get this. Lane's right. Lane is right. A general manager who falls in love with his players like Jerry Jones ends up paying Zeke Elliott money that he doesn't deserve. Or Tony Romo. Or anything. Tony Romo was the highest paid quarterback until Dak got there. And he won one playoff game. I don't know. Why would you reward a guy with all that money for one playoff win? What, because he he was a gunslinger and he looked good on TV? That's not how you pay quarterbacks. You pay him for putting big numbers up and big win-loss numbers up. Jalen, that's a great take too. Howie's fine with being hated. You know, hey, when you're a leader, you're hated and loved. Silz, do the Eagles beat Seattle if Wentz plays? Yeah, Ryan. Yeah. Maybe that's what really was the final straw. Am I right? Because wasn't Hurts drafted the next year and the next draft in April? Howie wasn't going to waste a first-round pick on a quarterback, but he was going to have the antithesis of what. How about this? Jalen would have played. Okay? Jalen would have played. And that's why Howie Roseman wanted that kind of character, and that's what would be his death knell. It kind of makes sense because all the things that we talk about with Jalen are the direct opposite. The direct opposite of Wentz, right? I want to get your reaction. Hurts would have played in Seattle. He would have waited after to go through the concussion protocols. And doesn't it seem you draft a guy with that kind of character because you think the guy that you gave the money to had low character? Was Howie setting the table for him to get his ass out of there from that Seattle game? Was that the end of Wentz, that Seattle game? I want you to think about that. Don't forget, Brian Westbrook in hour number 2 at 4:30. Guys, there is no question. It's an intriguing story, at least. Okay? I want to expand on it a little bit more. Don't forget also our friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Finding that attorney is one of the absolute most important things that you can possibly do. And if you're hurt or injured on the job, getting that attorney to get you the fair compensation is important to you and your family. For the people, that's just a slogan. It's who Morgan & Morgan is. It's what John Morgan and his army of attorneys are all about. They fight for you. Over 30 years, $13.5 billion in compensation for all of their clients. Look, 800 strong attorneys to go to battle for you. Offices in Philly, New York, Florida, all across the country. Morgan & Morgan, no case is too small. There's no such thing as a fender bender at Morgan & Morgan. Call them. 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. Look, the call is free. The consultation is free. They're open 24/7, 7 days a week. 800-512-1600. Do me a favor. When you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Big Silz sent you.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When you're hit from behind in a car crash, the insurance company may try to say, you can't possibly be hurt. It was only a few miles an hour. It's simply not true. You see, here's the thing. Getting hit at 10 miles per hour is like falling off of this. 15 miles per hour, like this. And only 25 miles per hour, this. Injured, dial pound law. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.